And remember that my presentation was made before Mr. Venkat had already talked about it. I would also like to apologize on behalf of my colleagues who could not come. Major Jha is busy dealing with swine flu in Pune, and Warren Leader Mudit is dealing with his applicants. Our aim is to provide an overview and an insight into the application of telemedicine in remote areas. As we all know, telemedicine is an entire range from consulting to tele-emergency. And the entire thing started around 100 years ago. When, with the advent of telephony, people did imagine that a time will come when people will be able to talk to each other via video conference. And the 1920s and 1930s, there was a major interest in the aspect of radio news, where radio was the major channel of information and entertainment, and people used to think that a time will come when doctors will be able to treat their patients through telephone. And however dire the forecast of Lord Kelvin may have been that radio has no future, in 2009, telemedicine is actually a reality, though we have still not been able to integrate it completely. I think the first step was taken in a particular aspect with the advent of the first portable ECG machine. Today ECG machines are really pocket, one can carry them in pockets. But the first ECG machine was just about 90 pounds. And at that time, it was fashionable for Harley Street physicians to go and visit a patient in 3 Rolls Royces, one for the doctor, one for the machine, and one for the attendants to carry the machine in. And today we are reaching a stage where actually robotic surgery is a reality. People can operate on patients from thousands of miles away. All this, of course, is because of technology. Why was it possible till then and not till now? We live in different worlds. I'm a doctor. I talk differently, I think differently, and for me technology is something which I cannot understand. And maybe we have always been very scared of things being very complicated. Any time that we have gone and tried to do something, things are tough. We end up like this poor old lady. Today, I think we have matured. Finally, it is an integration of IT, telecom and healthcare. And at the center of that lies telemedicine. Now that we have matured enough, we can actually think in terms of creating strategies and finding ways to deal with telemedicine. Let us look at the traditional healthcare model. A few of you may not be doctors out here, therefore it's a basic model which I am giving. We have the patient community, the patient is there. Through the series, the entire system is dependent. That first we go to the general practitioner, followed by district hospitals, regional hospitals and tertiary care centers. This is how we have designed. And somehow in one way or the other, it has stayed like this for the past 6,000 years. The patient is there. However, with the help of telemedicine today, this may be a reality when primary, secondary and tertiary care may be directed towards the patient with the patient at the center and technology all around him. Let us look at the urban-rural mismatch. In the urban areas, we have the maximum concentration of corporate hospitals. There are lots of people out there who are from the corporate sector. Lots of people who have been thinking how to provide a model, but most of the time it is extremely expensive, of course. The semi-urban area is fragmented and an unorganized sector. This is where people are aware that medicine is available, technology is available, but we cannot provide it to the extent. For example, the difference between Delhi and Ghaziabad may be such that a person who gets a heart attack in Delhi gets treated in a different manner to a patient who is getting a heart attack in Ghaziabad. Similarly, in rural areas. In rural area, it's even worse. Even primary and secondary healthcare is we have certain problems. The doctor-to-patient ratio is quite low. Villagers tend to spend approximately 1.5 times the money for the same disease, and 70% of the drugs are thought to be spurious. And however, we have some good news. Medicare is actually, this sector is booming. We are expected to become a 280 billion industry by 2022, and 12% of our and this sector has been growing at 12% per hour, but 1 million of our citizens die because of inadequate health care. 700 million people have no access to specialist care, and 80% of specialists live in urban areas. As Mr. Venkat said, this may not change. We have poor infrastructure in the rural areas, we all know. Why should we talk of, it's not a topic most of us are interested in, but 70% of us, of our residents, do reside in rural areas, who are remote. Even in the middle of a crowd, we can prevent 22 lakh infants and children from dying every day. 1 lakh mothers. Just think of it. 5 lakh people in this country die of tuberculosis. I think as on date, 40 people have died of swine flu in the last 1 month. 5 million people are suffering from HIV and AIDS. These are the people we deal with. Coming to that, first let me give a perspective from the professionals who deal in such areas. They have to be maintained. The health professionals, the doctors, the qualified paramedics have to be maintained in such areas. It's very easy to say that doctors don't go to private to rural areas, but they do not have any infrastructure. You can't go to a ward without a gun. In the semi-urban areas, which again I would like to classify as remote, if you look at it, it's a relative term, of course. There is a surfeit of private nursing homes. They are the people, they are the basic method of treating patients. Basic ways. And soldiers in remote locations. Why am I standing out here? I'm a cardiologist. My job is to look at ECGs and pass wires. Till 3 years ago, 4 years ago, 5 years ago, I was in a remote location which was cut off for 6 months. People, we had no infrastructure. We were shelled by the enemy every day. Of course, we also used to shell them, that's another point. But we had patients we could not evacuate. There are ill-equipped hospitals. Doctors are few and far between. At times we could not evacuate patients to higher centers. And therefore, dealing with remote medical practice became a way or a means why I agreed to do this job. Now that I have talked about it, I would just like to define there are certain aspects to remote medical care practice rather. One is most of the people, most of the paramedics and most of the health workers and doctors who are working out there are employed rather than private practitioners. They are isolated. Use of telehealth is more often in the sense that both the patient and the doctor do talk to each other and communicate with each other with the help of telephones. They require increased clinical acumen. There is extended practice. The same doctor has to provide both primary to tertiary health care. They work in cross-cultural settings. There is multidisciplinary practice. For example, an ENT surgeon may have to deal with an eye condition. And even the security of health person, of the paramedics and the doctors at times is at risk. I'll give an example of a case study. A few of you may have heard of the NELS study. This was a study which was carried out in stroke patients. Stroke is a devastating condition. Most of the people do that. However, we found that if you give a drug called Alteplase, 30% of the mortality is reduced and additional 30% of morbidity is reduced. There's a caveat. You have to give it within 3 hours. 3 hours of the onset of symptoms. In a country like France, where they have 1,50,000 strokes every year, only fewer than 1,500 patients manage to get it. We can imagine what about India. We did a study, this is an international study, where they randomized 222 patients of stroke, and they found that with the help of video telephony, 98% of the patients could be treated correctly. However, of course, the best thing was that you should be treated in a stroke unit, but a stroke unit is extremely expensive to maintain. You require a trained neurophysician, you require that drug, and you require to be within 3 hours of your place of the hospital of a stroke unit. So effective communication did improve patient outcomes. Let us look at our strengths. We have got 250 medical colleges in the modern system of medicine in our country, 400 medical colleges in the alternative system of medicine, and we churn out 25,000 doctors. 40% of our primary health centers are understaffed. We require up to $20 billion just to deal with this situation. We have a gross shortage of hospital beds. Most of the places have intermittent electrical supplies or alternate sources of energy. The silver lining is, of course, that most have mobile connectivity, where we can transmit images through the help of mobiles. So will telemedicine help us in improving the level of health maintenance and reducing costs? This is the basic idea behind it. All these things, most of the things I don't even understand, teleconsultation, okay, the e-reimbursement, electronic health record, they are there to help the doctor, not make the doctor. I'm telling you, I don't understand these things. These are for the technical people. They are there to provide this for me so that I can treat my patient without having to go into this. The basic model for telemedicine has always been, you have the patient, you have the doctor, both connected through a satellite. Either you go through a subspecialty hospital or you go through a rural or district hospital center. This is a model I didn't know till Mr. Venkat actually said, so I think he's already prescribed on this. We have the patient, what does he do? You have a problem, you go to a doctor, he calls up a hospital or he is in the hospital, and therefore thereafter he refers you to the relevant subspecialty. A similar thing, you have 1, 2, 3, 4. Maybe he's got 108 as a trauma. We have a system where we have a doctor sitting out there who decide, yes, you can, you don't need to. Of course, I don't know. I saw in his presentation that they managed to pick up within 2 rings. Most of us have had a very bad experience with all these call waitings. So, this forms the basic system. Of course, this is the system which we generally do follow in our armed forces, and we expect a lot of roadblocks. Will we be able to overcome them with the help of telemedicine? Will it improve the quality and treatment and care of patients and reduce costs? Let us look at it. We all know the story of 4 blind men and the elephant. There are 4 major aspects: material, capital, human and informational. And we have all in plenty. But will we be able to integrate and see the whole of the elephant? What is our future? We expect that technology is going to help us with the propagation of cellular technology, mobile access and high bandwidth. Trauma ambulance, Mr. Venkat has already defined, and I think he's managed it in Andhra Pradesh in a very beautiful manner in so many states. But this is important. As we become more and more industrialized, trauma is going to take up the major aspect of our healthcare. I would like to end with a small clip which one of my friends has sent about a gentleman who's trying to save antelopes in Africa. A very novel method. Maybe telemedicine will be something like this, will be like the gentleman.